Well, just as a heads up, you're going to be watching some very disturbing video coming up later in the show. They released the 7th undercover Planned Parenthood video. It is very gruesome, very disturbing, and if you can even believe it, it's more shocking than all of the other videos that have come before it. Alex Jones asked this question earlier on the radio show today. If babies are not safe, if the unborn aren't safe, the most vulnerable among us are not okay in this country, are any of us safe? So that's going to be coming up later in the show. But first, let's talk about the candidate that receives 20 times more funding from Planned Parenthood than any other Democratic candidate out there, probably any other candidate that's out there, Hillary Clinton. What will our country look like under another Clinton presidency?
Did you try to wipe the entire, so that there be no email, no personal, no official, wipe the whole thing?
Well, my personal emails are my personal business.
You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something?
I don't know.
Well,
you
no.
know how it works digitally. Did you try to wipe the whole server?
I don't know how it works digitally at all. I do not have any.
You did not try.
So just like she shrugs off the illegality of profiting from the sale of baby parts, she's also going to shrug off the fact that she illegally wiped her server. She's going to joke about, oh, what did I use, a cloth? Now, Clinton told reporters that she's sure that she never received or sent material that was marked or designated classified through her private email account because she said, you know, it would have been marked as such. Well, an aide to a Republican member of the Senate Intelligence Committee fired back and they said, the way that you decide if something is classified when you're the Secretary of State isn't that you look for some stamp, you look at the contents. Clinton was one of just 20 high-ranking officials who President Obama named in a December 2009 executive order as having the authority to order things classified or top secret. So she's the one that's given the authority to say, oh, I'm looking at something that's top secret, I better label it as such. And she's the Secretary of State. So of course she's going to be handling classified material. Now, after just going through 40 of the emails after the FBI seized her server last week, 40 of those emails, 2 of them were designated top secret. So, you know, they've got thousands more to go through. We'll have to see how that goes. Play that GIF again because, you know, at least Hillary is already in her orange jumpsuit. So, you know, ready for Hillary. She's already got her little orange jumpsuit there. Now, Donald Trump is predicting that Hillary could get up to 20 years in prison for deleting more than 30,000 emails. She says those were just her yoga emails, her yoga routines. They had nothing to do with work, you know, right? And this is according to a federal law that she voted for. So it's actually backing him up. It's the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. It was passed in 2002 with a yes vote from then Senator Hillary Clinton. One of its provisions is known as the anti-shredding law, and it forbids destroying documents in contemplation of a federal investigation. And it's meant to apply to corporate bad actors, prescribes a maximum 20-year prison sentence, and Clinton directed the deletion of more than 30,000 of her emails at a time when Congress was investigating her actions surrounding the Benghazi attacks. And of course, after she's turned over her server to the FBI this latest time, it has appeared to be professionally wiped clean several times. So Hillary's flagrant violation of the law has been such a hit there on the Hill that the Republican National Committee is now selling a special Hillary Clinton branded wipe cloth. They say, do you have a secret server you need to wipe clean? While having trouble clearing out those pesky top secret emails? Well, Hillary's got just the thing, the secret server wiper. So there, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a pretty or some Halloween costumes. Hey, if you want to be the wiping cloth that Hillary Clinton used to wipe her server clean, there you go. She has officially memed herself, and now that GIF is going to play on into oblivion. And Hillary already there in her nice orange jumpsuit, getting ready for prison. Now, Governor Jesse Ventura has some choice words for Mrs. Clinton. And, you know, obviously not a huge fan there. kind of parroting Trump, who says, you know, she's going to get some prison time for this. But he also isn't really holding back when it comes to the Donald. He has voiced some support for some of Trump's ideas, but he did, you know, have some other choice words for this entertainer turned presidential candidate.
If he gets, or when he gets elected, if that happens, he's not the benevolent dictator. Not like you are when you're head of a corporation where what you say goes. He's got to understand that government is a case of checks and balances, and people have to work together, and compromises have to happen. You are not a dictator like you are in the corporate or business world.
So Ventura noted that one of the reasons why he finds Trump appealing is because he can afford to fund his own campaign, meaning he's not going to be beholden to lobbyists and big business. But he wasn't too keen on Trump's advocacy for this erection of a wall. He said, "We stand for freedom, and yet we want to put up a wall that makes the United States look like a prison? Walls are a two-way street. Not only will they keep people out, but they will also keep you in." Bingo. And that's not to mention walls are going to do nothing to stop criminals from coming through to the United States via the tunnels, the underground tunnels that they have been building for years to ship in drugs and other criminals. So once again, you know, what is this fascination with Trump? It's just like years ago with Obama, empty promises, all filler, and, you know, this cult of personality that's surrounding him. So what's the big difference this time? You know, it was bad with Obama, but it's okay with Trump. I mean, it's a puppet presidency all over again.
Well, unlike every other campaign I've ever seen, from president to dog catcher, Trump has avoided putting up any issues, any policy statements about anything. He's been running on the strength of his character and his opposition to open borders. Now, for the first time, we see a detailed policy statement, and of course, it's on immigration. So let's take a look at the economic, the legal, and the liberty aspects of the Trump immigration policy. Bloomberg Business asks, what would happen to the economy if Trump got his way? Bloomberg says the supply of workers would shrink a lot. They also say service occupations would feel the burn. Illegal immigrants, they say, make up 5% of the workforce, and we don't have workers to replace them. Well, that's not true at all. This year, Americans out of the workforce rose to 33%, the highest rate since 1978. We all know from personal experience that entry-level jobs are being taken by immigrants, especially the jobs that typically went to students who were seeing depression-level unemployment rates. As these charts show, since December of 2007, the entire recovery that we've had since then, 75% of jobs have gone to foreign-born workers, and we have seen declining wages in America. The Bloomberg article also says that Social Security Fund would take a hit. They cite a study that undocumented workers pay $13 billion in payroll taxes. Do you really think that most illegals are paying Social Security taxes? One of the major incentives for American businesses to hire illegal aliens in the first place is that they can save over 7.5% in payroll taxes versus paying for a citizen who is on Social Security. And if they are paying the taxes, then the person who replaces them, who is an American citizen, would be paying those same Social Security taxes. Bloomberg, Wall Street, and the Washington politicians only look at the economic cost to businesses. But what about the welfare and education costs that anyone who pays taxes are being saddled with? Our borders are being flooded with foreign students. How is that going to be paid? With property taxes. It's not just the additional students. The costs per student are higher if they need special tutors. In Philadelphia, 800 students speaking 40 different languages from 70 countries have just been registered. If any child in the world can come here illegally and you can be compelled to pay for it, how will you be able to afford those soaring property taxes? Will you be put out of your home, or will you simply be impoverished? One excellent aspect of Trump's immigration paper is the H-1B visa abuse that he attacks. Reading from his statement, he says, increase the prevailing wage for H-1Bs. We graduate 2 times more Americans with STEM degrees each year than find STEM jobs. Yet as much as 2/3 of entry-level hiring for IT jobs is accomplished through the H-1B program. What are STEM jobs? Science, technology, engineering, manufacturing. The types of jobs that pay high wages, that increase our standard of living. Let me repeat what he said. 50% of Americans with STEM degrees can't get jobs, yet 67% of entry-level IT jobs go to foreign workers with these H-1B visas. Let's turn to the legal aspects now. The anchor babies, that's been getting a lot of attention. The idea that foreigners could come to the U.S., have a baby, and then use that baby's citizenship to bring in an entire extended family, that is not something that you can find in the 14th Amendment. A lot of people have pushed back against the idea that we could ever stop the anchor baby program, but that's not in the text. The purpose of the 14th Amendment, remember, was to establish the rights of citizenship for freed slaves. Going back to the original passage of the 14th Amendment, in 1866, Senator Jacob Howard clearly spelled out the intent of the 14th Amendment. He said, every person born within the limits of the U.S. and subject to their jurisdiction is by virtue of natural law and national law a citizen of the United States. This will not, he writes, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States. So it was never intended to make American citizens out of people who were born here of foreign parents who are visiting. That's what subject to the jurisdiction means. But even if you ignored that, why would you extend citizenship to the extended family? This is an abuse, and it needs to be stopped. Trump is right to call for its end. Let's turn now to liberty and law enforcement issues. I agree with Donald Trump that we should stop this ridiculous catch and release program of criminals who are illegal aliens. Being here illegally should not give you legal immunity. You should not be treated like you're some kind of a foreign diplomatic ambassador. Trump calls for building a wall and making Mexico pay for it. He also calls for increasing the number of immigration and customs enforcement officers by 3 times. He points out that since September 11th, we've already increased the number of ICE officers by a factor of 3. So we're going to have 10 times the number of officers. We are creating a massive police state. We don't want to turn the American West into the West Bank of Israel with all of its oppressive population control measures. He also calls for nationwide E-Verify, a new national ID card, an army of new law enforcement officers, and a gigantic wall around our country is not something that's going to stop immigration of people if you don't remove the subsidies and the incentives for them to come here. The flood of illegal immigrants is due to the incentives and the subsidies that we've created for the benefit of corporate profits and a socialist agenda. Stop those incentives, and you can stop the flood of people. But creating a police state will do nothing to stop it if the incentives remain. For InfoWars, I'm David Knight.
Thank you, David. And let's not overlook old Jeb Bush. Now, he's in second place to Donald Trump, and he has nothing but contempt for civil liberty. Total authoritarian / totalitarian here. His whole family's like that. He wants to expedite the security state above all. He said Tuesday that the NSA needs even more power, and the government should have broad surveillance powers of Americans, and private technology firms should cooperate better with intelligence agencies to help combat evildoers. Oh, I think his bro coined that term. So he says, rather bowing to the demands of their customers, that shouldn't be the bottom line there, what your customers want, that Google and these other agencies should just go ahead and fork over your information and just be more willing to violate your civil liberties in order to stop terrorists. Now, of course, this puts him at odds with Republican congressional leaders who earlier this year voted against bulk collection by the NSA. But that's not all. Jeb Bush says he is not going to rule out torture. And he's not the only 2016 candidate that's open to torture here. But he basically says, I'm running for president, so I'm not going to say that I'm going to rule out torture or not. He said there's a difference between enhanced interrogation and torture. And, of course, that difference is whatever the White House deems is legally justifiable. They don't want to point that out. But most of the candidates there, they basically just don't want to broadcast to the world whether they're going to be torturing people or not. So basically they're saying, just trust us. So that's what we're supposed to do, is just trust all of these people who have the future potential to torture, interrogate, and be absolute totalitarians. Authoritarians merely want obedience, while totalitarians, whose rule is rooted in an ideology, want obedience and conversion. The authoritarians are the guys in charge who want to stay in charge, and they don't much care about you or what you're doing, so long as you stay out of their way. Live or die, it's all same to the regime. Totalitarians are a different breed. These are the people who have a plan, who think they see the future more clearly than you, or who are convinced they grasp reality in a way that you do not. They don't serve themselves, they serve history, or the people, or the idea, or some other ideological totem that justifies their actions. They want obedience, of course, but even more, they want their rule and their belief system to be accepted and self-sustaining. And the only way to achieve that is to create a new society of people who share those beliefs, even if it means bludgeoning every last citizen into enlightenment. That's what makes totalitarians different and more dangerous. They are totalistic in the sense they demand a complete reorientation of the individual to the state and its ideological ends. Every person who harbors a secret objection, or even so much as a doubt, is a danger to the future of the whole project. And so the regime compels its subjects not only to obey, but to believe.
This is An American President. Just add puppet, then vote and repeat every 4 years.
Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for.
And that's the principle of InfoWars Life, as far as I understand, that you've always had, is that it's not about synthetic chemicals and forcing actions. It's about letting your body do its own thing and giving your body the tools it needs to create these different compounds that are super valuable and super beneficial.
You will find Brain Force and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
Do not try.
So just like she shrugs off the illegality of profiting from the sale of baby parts, she's also going to shrug off the fact that she illegally wiped her server. She's going to joke about, oh, what did I use, a cloth? Now, Clinton told reporters that she's sure that she never received or sent material that was marked or designated classified through her private email account because she said, you know, it would have been marked as such. Well, an aide to a Republican member of the Senate Intelligence Committee fired back, and they said the way that you decide if something is classified. Emails after the FBI seized her server last week, they just 40 of those emails, 2 of them were designated top secret. So, you know, they've got thousands more to go through. We'll have to see how that goes. Play that GIF again because, you know, at least Hillary is already in her orange jumpsuit. So, you know, ready for Hillary. She's already got her little orange jumpsuit there. Now, Donald Trump is predicting that Hillary could get up to 20 years in prison for deleting more than 30,000 emails. She says those were just her yoga emails, her yoga show. But first, let's talk about the candidate that receives 20 times more funding from Planned Parenthood than any other Democratic candidate out there, probably any other candidate that's out there, Hillary Clinton. What will our country look like under another Clinton presidency?
Did you try to wipe the entire, so that there be no email, no personal, no official, wipe the whole thing?
Well, my personal emails are my personal business.
You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something?
I don't know.
Well,
you know
no.
how it works digitally. Did you try to wipe the whole server?
I don't know how it works digitally at all. I do not have any.
Well, just as a heads up, you're going to be watching some very disturbing video coming up later in the show. They've released the 7th undercover Planned Parenthood video. It is very gruesome, very disturbing, and if you can even believe it, it's more shocking than all of the other videos that have come before it. Alex Jones asked this question earlier on the radio show today. If babies are not safe, if the unborn aren't safe, the most vulnerable among us are not okay in this country, are any of us safe? So that's going to be coming up later in the show. Classified when you're the Secretary of State isn't that you look for some stamp, you look at the contents. Clinton was one of just 20 high-ranking officials who President Obama named in a December 2009 executive order as having the authority to order things classified or top secret. So she is the one that's given the authority to say, oh, I'm looking at something that's top secret, I better label it as such. And she's the Secretary of State. So of course she's going to be handling classified material. Now, after just going through 40 of the